All right, let's kick things off. But thank you all for joining. We're super excited. This is, I think, the first time I do a webinar with two other folks versus just one. Last time, I think we did an awesome webinar with AirOps as well, but this time we're doing with Strapi, which is really fun because we're all my new website is on Strapi. I've been obviously using AirOps a ton, and Strap is a client of GrowthX, and it's all and Strapi got integrated into AirOps, so it's all connected here. So it's really exciting. But I've been managing websites for pretty much my whole career, and I think one of the biggest things I do every time is try to implement a headless CMS, and so I think it was pretty fitting to try to do a quick webinar today and session on some of the ways we can automate all the different jobs to be done around managing your website and your presence. And so I'll introduce myself, and then I'll pass it over to my fellow panelists here, I should say. But anyways, I'm Marcel. For those of you that don't know me, my background, I've been at a lot of different fast-growing startups like HashiCorp, ServiceTitan, Scale, most recently Deepgram, and most recently launched my own startup called GrowthX.ai. And so with that, Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, my name is Paul. I'm a developer advocate at Strapi. The best headless CMS, not because I work there, but it's really awesome. It allows you to manage all your content, and I love to be part of this panel because I'm super excited to talk about how we're using GrowthX and AirOps. It's pretty awesome.
Amazing. Thanks, Paul. I'm Owen, despite how my name is spelled. Just joined AirOps about 2 months ago as head of growth. My background is in everything from growth marketing and growth engineering to being like VP of marketing at my last company. But yeah, definitely have been super interested the last few years in trying to scale up different parts of the growth org with amazing sorts of automation and AI. So I've been a big fan of Marcel for years. So super excited to partner with him on this. And then quick intro to AirOps. We help bring kind of your boldest SEO ideas to life. As we go through the demos, you'll see AI workflows, but everything from strategy to content creation to what's really cool with the Strapi integration is content optimization. So yeah, I think people will enjoy the demos particularly that we run through. But yeah, lovely to meet you.
Sweet. Okay, so quick heads up for everyone. We're gonna fly through some slides, but keep your ideas, thoughts, and questions posted in the chat because we're actually using most of the time to show you some of the things we build and some of the things we're using every single day. But then also we love to take questions. Maybe we even build some things live. I don't know. And and also we do a ton of Q&A and really allow you all to ask us anything. So let's get going. Cool. So quick agenda. Like I said, we're just going to go through slides for about 15 minutes, just talking through a little bit of my journey. Some of you might have already come to some of my webinars, but and then we'll talk a little bit about how to think about AI first website management, and then what are some ways to identify the right use cases to apply AI to. And quickly, we just want to get to the demos because we built a bunch of really cool stuff for this that we're really excited to show. But I'm a bit of a broken record here, but I always like to start with this. If you get nothing out of today, is hopefully to continue to inspire you to become more AI native. And the reason for that is I truly believe every single knowledge worker is going to need to be retooled in the next 12 months. And it's like I'm just seeing this trend. Actually, some of the new folks that have joined our company, they literally left their well-paying job and because they want to go deeper and become more AI native. We're hosting these workshops where all these companies, all these people, all these knowledge workers are really kind of waking up and realizing how much more productive they can be if they start to become more AI native and build workflows that work with their expertise in their day-to-day. And so with that, my journey started, as some of you might know, around last year when I was at Deepgram and we started to build some workflows. And one of the biggest questions I had was, does AI content work? And so that's when I actually discover AirOps and started to just play around with it. I was always curious. I've been in AI for several years, but wanted to kind of build it myself. And I think one of the things that was really interesting about my journey was I actually didn't go through any courses or any prompt engineering guidelines or anything like that. I just started to play with it and just use logic and just use like common words that I would use myself, right? And it was a ton of fun. And I think that that was kind of part of what I ended up doing, was just rearranging my time, buying some of my time back to just continue to build and learn. And one of the things I wanted to kind of prove out was I've been managing, content programs my whole career. Could I build something that with AI assisted, right? And so that's part of what we launched at Deepgram. We launched this AI apps catalog. There's another webinar. If anyone didn't join that one, hit me up. I'll send you the recording that we go into a lot more detail on this stuff. But it was pretty incredible, right? It was kind of a side project that somehow I managed to do it as part of my work and as part of my job. And the results have been pretty incredible and continue to be pretty incredible. Deepgram is doing extremely well and a ton of traction, but the traffic really skyrocketed. But beyond that, there were so many other benefits. And I think one of the biggest ones, in addition to conversions to subscribers and people applying to start a program, was actual real impact on usage and revenue. But beyond that was also the number of people that just started to search directly for Deepgram, right? And I think that is probably one of the most valuable things, is when people know you and they start to search for you by name, right? And that's for any of us that manage like performance marketing programs, your branded searches are your most valuable traffic, highest converting traffic, right? So if you have a lever to increase that, that's pretty powerful. And so as part of that, I started doing these workshops and showing people kind of how we built that. And the long story short, we've now been working with a little over 20 different clients like Reddit and Ramp and HeyGen and a bunch of others. And we're starting to see like the same approach work. And we're working with Strapi as well. Obviously, AirOps is an amazing partner, but it's been a lot of fun because we're just taking a lot of these workflows that we started to build to a whole nother level, and we're seeing the results pretty quickly. And it's been really awesome to see because it's not just, hitting a button and publishing a bunch of garbage content. It's really like having a strategist, a managing editor, and collaborating with folks and building these really complex workflows with experts in the loop, so that the quality is really high, and we're able to do it a lot faster and scale things a lot more, right? And so this is what the mentality and kind of what we want to apply to all the different jobs to be done around your website and your website management, right? Is really thinking through, look, there's no workflow you're going to build that's going to replace a shitty strategy, And so the bottom line is you need to think about like, what is the right strategy, but how can you couple that with execution, right? I'll give examples where my whole career, especially if you're managing a site with a lot more pages, there's probably a lot of the hygiene tasks that you or your team might be following behind, right? Like broken links, outdated content, whether it's like really bad meta descriptions or meta titles, or duplicate content, or just things that you would check for, whether it's on the content side or even inspecting the code, and that you're able to systematize that a lot more. And we'll talk about a few of those, but hopefully this will give you a ton of really exciting ideas as well, right? But then part of our approach is, how do you start to decompose some of the work you're doing as an expert, and start to rebuild it as AI workflows, and reinsert experts in the loop, whether it's yourself or other folks in your team, and then try to incrementally streamline and automate things, right? And so, but with that, I'll just address one thing that I think comes up quite a bit, which is you usually get a reaction either really excited about AI or really concern or not excited about AI, right? And I think for us, like all the same principles that have always applied to content and great experiences like still apply, which is first and foremost, you need to be adding value. You need to be creating content, creating experiences that are extremely useful, and you need to be ideally over delivering on the promise before someone lands on your page, right? Like whatever your headline, whether your title is, when someone lands on your page or the intent behind when someone comes to your page, you need to deliver on that. And if you're not delivering on that, then search engines will pretty quickly realize that the quality is not there either, right? And part of this is having some kind of oversight process where you're able to go, like, are you able to inspect every single page in your CMS today? Are you doing that every day? Are you doing that every week? Do you have a standard framework for how you approach it? And if you can do it once, you most likely can build something that can help you and assist you and do it, times 1,000 every week. And that's I think the powerful thing here. So with that, I'll hand it over to Paul.
Hey, thanks. That's very awesome, Marcel. And to your point, content is growing exponentially. A lot of us are trying to figure out how to manage all our content in a way that's scalable. And that's where Strapi comes in. It allows you to manage your content. We have the approach where your content is decoupled from your presentation layer, which allows you to manage your content in a way that gives you omni-channel ability to publish your content basically anywhere. You might have your website, you might have your mobile app, and the way you structure your data in Strapi, we like to use component-based architecture where you structure your components in ways that it makes sense for the data and not so much the presentation, which gives you that flexibility, to publish your data to any place or device. I've heard users literally publishing their content to a refrigerator smart screen, which I thought was kind of neat and awesome. But the point is, there's so much content to manage, and how do you navigate that, in today's world? So we could go to the next slide, please. And before I show you how Strapi uses GrowthX and AirOps, I just want to show that Strapi 5 is out. It's pretty awesome. It's great for non-technical users to be able to manage their content easily. We have cool new features like draft and published and content history. And if you're not a developer, you might see some stuff here that might not be making any sense, but that's okay. If you have a developer, which you don't need many, because Strapi is very easy to get started out of the box. I tell people, why should you start with a headless CMS without just managing content? Well, it's like a 10,000 hour head start. You don't have to create that system from scratch, which is really awesome. And this is why I love AirOps so much, because as a developer, maybe I could build those flows from scratch, but it will take me days, maybe months. And so AirOps allows you to do that very quickly. So that's why it's cool. It allows non-technical users to do cool things, but also a lot of ability for developers to take it even farther. And we could go to my next slide, please. And so how is Strapi using AirOps and GrowthX? So there are many ways. And like one thing that I want to say, AI is here to stay, and your competitors are probably already using it. And the reason why I say that is because if you're on the fence from the fact that if you have a project which has a lot of data, a lot of content, you probably want to figure out how to automate some of the tasks, some of the boring tasks, just so you could stay level with your competitors who are probably already using some of these strategies. And what we do, we use it for content ideation, like trying to figure out what are good ideas to have. We also use workflows, and I'm sure Marcel's going to share some of them, where we show generate titles, our outline to our actual content. And I know a lot of people are on the fence with AI sometimes, but the fact is, are you generating good content? And what I love about working with the GrowthX and AirOps is that there's a human in the loop every part of the step. It's not just like you automate everything. You automate the boring stuff to save time, but you still, as a human, make that final decision. And that's my favorite part. And I think I'm going to pass it on to Owen now.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think a lot of what Marcel was going through, and same with Paul, about like core principles of website management and the building blocks. Just a little bit about AirOps. We help you build and scale AI workflows particularly around the CMS. We've invested the time to build a lot of the building blocks to help with website management, content creation, and optimization. But just like they were saying, it really comes back to the principles of like adding value and over delivering on the promise. So that's creating really good content Google and your website visitors want to engage with, and then being able to scale that with, as Marcel mentioned, like experts in the loop. You don't want to just create stuff and ship it directly to production, even though the Strapi integration will let you do that. You really want to like have a human in the loop and really enrich it with that personal touch as well. So those are two principles to think about as you start to scale up some of your workflows. If you want to go with the next one, Marcel, yeah, how to do content right. I think I like to think about content almost as like a flywheel, and I think it aligns really well with what we're going to cover here today of like almost putting your website management on autopilot, where to insert kind of automation on the right jobs to be done. So again, you're going to start with like content strategy. You want to think about your own creativity ideas and like bringing other like best practices to life. Then you want to execute on the content creation side of it, be it web pages, articles, or some other form of like collateral for your sales team. And then once you publish that and get it out in the wild, whether you're going to use internal learnings or data points from a SEMrush or Google Analytics, you want to optimize that. And then it really creates that flywheel loop of getting insights, coming up with a better strategy, coming up with better content. And that's really where easy facilitation between content creation and your CMS really comes into play. So if you want to touch on the next one, Marcel, as we think about like, be it AirOps and Strapi or some other automation and CMS, you really need that like tight link between the two tools, because it will let you create like impactful content at scale and easily deploy it out into the wild. So that's your push function. And then you also want the pull. You want to be able to pull in like what that content looks like, pull in your data points, be it from maybe internal sales calls or again, a platform like Google Search Console. That'll really help you tie the loop together between strategy, creation, and optimization. And as we get into demos, it'll really help you like execute on each of those and start to stitch them together to make your own life and your team's lives a hell of a lot easier.
Awesome.
But yeah, where do you start? You don't want to go from 0 to 100, and maybe Marcel, you have thoughts on that as well. Generally, I'll say like start small, like build up an MVP, and even from there, you want to think about the jobs to be done on your team, or start with like an existing question. Maybe don't start with imitating something that's like a little bit ahead of where you're at today. Really think about where can automation be useful? What are problems that you encounter today? And really start with like baby steps.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think what we're seeing often as we're working with teams and brands, whether it's on the content creation side or building kind of custom AI workflows, is it's easy to kind of get stuck and want to do the perfect 0 to 100%, where you're like, well, but we don't have this integration done yet, but what we're finding is you can still create an insane amount of value, and we'll show you some of the simpler workflows you can build. And hopefully folks have a ton of thoughts and ideas too, and we can kind of brainstorm on them on this call as well. But with that, today we're going to go through some of these use cases and some of these demos as well. But we're not going to get through every single one of them. So if there's one that you're really curious about, or you want to see, hit us up. We'll definitely happy to show you some additional things. But with that, I think it's demo time. So just because we had a question on what exactly do tools like Strapi and AirOps do, and I think AirOps we're going to show here in a second as far as like building these workflows, and I think it will make a lot more sense. But you know, I'll try to explain Strapi too from my perspective. You know, I think having a headless CMS has always been really, really powerful. It's actually always the first thing I do as a joint company, as a CMO or VP of marketing. And the reason for that is the experience on your website and the ability to move fast can be 10x if you're able to decouple like the back end of your site with how the presentation layer looks. And so this allows you to scale content and allow you to scale your pages and experiences a lot better. And it's why with Deepgram, for example, we're able to launch AI apps section of the site with a 4,000 pages and do things like that, because it's all API first. And so with that, let's look at some fun demos. So this one, let's take a live page here. Let's see, what page shall we take from Paul? What do you think? The customization, which page do you want to look at the copy in it?
Yeah, let's do it here. Let's start here. Let's check it out.
All right, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna run this workflow, and as I'm running, I'll show you kind of what's happening behind the scenes, and you can see there's like a few different steps running. But this workflow, what's happening here, and I'll show you as it's running live. It's actually, first of all, pulling a bunch of information about Strapi that I already gave it, right? Which is just a description of Strapi as a company. This would be a description of your own company, and maybe you have some kind of voice and tone guidelines, and some things like that, right? Where like a style guide, how you want to sound. So that's the first thing. We're pulling that, and then we're going in scraping the actual page that we gave it, right? And so this is you can see here, it's like scraping the whole thing, so that we can kind of learn what's in that page. And then after that, we're going through, we're actually using O1 Preview, which is the latest model from OpenAI. It's a bit slow, but it's really powerful. And you can see it's starting to kind of critique the page as far as like the copy. And we're going to show you the final output. Then we're using a API that's integrated with AirOps already here, which automatically pulls some of the SEO information. And so, for example, meta title, meta description of the page, and some additional information about it. So you can see, like, you could start to take this and look at the performance metrics in your page, and then be able to say, hey, if the page load time is really slow or something else, like, you can start to flag that automatically. And then the final step is suggesting some improvements to the meta title and meta description. So let me show you the final output. You can see it took 83 seconds to do all of this. So not bad at all, but here you go. So this is, and I'll show you the behind the scenes framework here, but create APIs. So this is the current headline. And then there are some critiques that you can use different frameworks or how you want to think about best practices in copywriting. I just pulled one that I liked, but you can see improved versions, and some of these are not bad. What do you think, Paul?
Yes, I always mute myself. But yeah, that's awesome. That looks good. I'm
Here's
just
the
like,
cool thing. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's amazing like how much time you could save because you're not starting from zero. You could automate some of these workflows and get pretty good way there, which is pretty awesome. And what I love about like AirOps is that you could tweak these workflows to get the result that you need. And that's the flexibility that I like here. And that is one of the benefits here. I was going to quickly say, because I am a developer. And so when I look at stuff like this, how easily this makes it, if you're a developer and you code this stuff yourself and you hard code it, you actually have to go into the code, make those changes. But I'm sure we'll see some of the ways you build workflows here. Here you do it in this amazing like visual editor that allows you to kind of manage your workflows. So if you're not super technical, no worries. And that's why I really love what AirOps has done.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool too, because you can see it's not just taking one headline, and there's some tools out there on the web that will look at your slogan or your hero or whatever. It's actually taking every statement or every sentence or section and critiquing and suggesting things, and it's giving you 5 suggestions so that you can use your human judgment, your expertise, and your context that you have about your own company to potentially pick which one improves, or maybe even do a hybrid of the two. But hopefully this is saving you a ton of time. And then the last thing here after everything is we took the meta title and the meta description, and then we suggested some improvements or some potential changes to them, right? And you can obviously like take it or leave it, and but you can see like the before and after Strapi. Right now, the meta title, Paul, we're going to have to change this, is just a generic. It actually doesn't mention what that specific page is about. And so you can see here, even though this page is about customization, the headline makes it seem like it's about the whole company, right? So right here, I think some of these are actually much better. And so customize Strapi, personalize your CMS for any project, right? And then the description is pretty good, right? And so this would be a great example of like, let's say you have 1,000 pages. I've never come into a company and had any website that I managed that had hundreds of pages or thousands of pages where every single page had a really good meta description and meta title, you know? So that alone like can go a long way, because if you can improve the click-through rates for because your headlines are more enticing and your descriptions are better, that means you can most likely get more organic traffic, because you get more users to click on the link when your links show up in search as well, you know? So there's a lot of additional benefits beyond that.
I was going to say, because this makes so much sense, because what we just touched on, you have thousands of articles. How do you improve the meta description automatically? So I think like it'll be perfect for me to present my portion here, because it just so
Yeah,
closely ties in, because I think you could
that's
combine
perfect.
both workflows. So let me share my
Let's do
screen
it.
quickly here, because I think this is really awesome. Let me know when you see my screen looking good.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah, we got
awesome.
it.
So,
Yep.
like Marcel said, you might have thousands of items. So here I have lots of items exactly doing the thing that Marcel said. We have our links and we have our previous meta descriptions, and maybe they're not that good. So what you're able to do, you're able to export this as a CSV, and AirOps has this concept called grids, where it's you're able to import your CSV file, and it kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's like Excel spreadsheets on steroids, because what you might not know here, we are able to actually add workflows, so some sort of automated process. So here we have a generate new SEO description. I'll quickly give you a quick look at what this looks like. And so based on what Marcel did, that could be the first step. And then Marcel could scrape our whole site and basically generate this type of CSV based on his suggestions generated by his workflow. And then I could push this into my workflow, because I'm going to have access to the grid, and I could start that process of making those SEO improvements. And so here we have a SEO meta description generator, which basically will first scrape our article and to kind of get a consensus. What is this article is about? What's really awesome about AirOps, you could have this idea of like memory state, where you could store certain things in vector databases, where you could have access to your own data. And in this case, we have our top 100 keywords that we know we want to rank for. And based on what one of our teammates, Theo, who actually created this workflow, did. He's like, hey, these are the keywords we have to include in the meta description when it makes sense. So we have access to that. And basically, we have a prompt here that basically gives the AI the prompts, hey, here's what we want to do, generate the meta description based on these guidelines, and be able to add our output of our keywords and so on. And this process is done automatically. And once we have the output, that is the output that will be here in the grid. So if I run this, it's going to go ahead, run that workflow that I show you, and it's going to generate that new meta description that fits all of our prerequisites. So one of the issues we were having on our website, if you take a look here, all of these, you see the numbers, these are the length of the characters, and that's too long for us. So we wanted to have an automated process where we're able to update not only the meta description, optimizing our keywords, but actually change the length to fit what is the best practice for us. And so once this is generated, I have another workflow here that will go ahead and publish that output to Strapi, which is awesome. And then it will reflect. I have the, oh my goodness, Zoom Zoom likes to put the toolbar right where the tabs are. Anyway, and if you take a look at our website, you could see that it updated automatically our description here. And what's awesome about this whole concept of grids, I'm doing one at a time because we already ran this workflow. But if you have many items, you could just run it at the top level and they'll go through each item and update it accordingly without you having to do that manually. And I think that's awesome. So I want to quickly share that part of it because I think it really fits in with what you were talking about, Marcel.
Yeah, that's perfect, and that's really exciting. Like if you think about just that alone, right? Let's say you have 1,000 pages, just the process of coming up with a new title, a new description, reading the page, understanding what the page is, having the full context, right? Maybe it's even 10 minutes, 15 minutes at least to do a good job, maybe even more, right? So pretty quickly you can see how you're saving, potentially months of human hours work, right? And this is just one thing, but then as you start to do that, you start to have additional ideas of what's possible.
Just on that workflow alone, a little bit of a cool stat. I did that last week on 2 of our programmatic hubs. And just that one thing alone, Paul, I think you probably had a similar character count to us trying to get below 155. Across those 2 programmatic hubs, we saw a 15% increase in clicks just by doing that one update
Oh, that's
ourselves.
amazing.
So it was so cool. It like literally, I rebuilt something like you had there, but in like 10 minutes, I pulled it in from our CMS, updated, pushed it back, and then yeah, to see results within a week like that is just like really nice.
Yeah, that's insane. We're seeing the same thing where that's one of the lowest hanging fruit. And we built workflows to also refresh the content, like articles, blogs, or whatever as well. And so like refreshing the meta title, meta description. And the really cool thing you're going to see later from Owen is like AirOps just built a integration with Google Search Console. So you can also start to monitor for drops in click-through rates and start to trigger, updates in the meta title, meta description to hopefully try to improve some of that, which is kind of exciting. But cool. Okay, so this was the copywriting recommender, right, that we did. And so, but I wanted to show you another one that's quite fun, which is the page to FAQ, right? I don't know if any of you I've gone through this, but almost anytime there's a product launch or new announcement, I would hear from sales teams, where's the sales enablement? Well, can you do a one-pager for me? Hey, can you, I didn't know this thing went live. I'm like, well, you should probably check out our website more often, but you can also automate some of the stuff, right? So even though it's not directly like, hey, this is the everything we do on our website, this can also help generate FAQs for the pages themselves, right? So you can put FAQs at the bottom of different pages. This one is fun. So again, we put a blog post that went live about Strapi 5. And so we scraped the content. Then we looked at what are the kind of trying to understand the piece of content more, like what are the features and benefits, like what are the important information in this page or this announcement. And then we started to draft an FAQ and then a sales email. So I'll show you the final output here, which is really cool. So here's a really well-structured FAQ on this. What are the new features introduced by Strapi 5? How does it work? What are the benefits? And what are some additional insights? And then here's the email to send it to sales, right? And especially if you have a lot of product announcements or updates and things that are changing, this can be really useful. But it can also be used to send a version of this to your current customer base, right? So they know about a new update or potentially like a personalized email from sales. And so that's really exciting. And then last one I want to show is what we're doing for Strapi, which is really cool, which is we've built these really robust workflows that go through a huge amount of process to do keyword research. And so we start with a ton of keyword research where we're understanding every single page that ranks for that keyword. And then we start to generate a title. And and we kind of go through and have a human review of that title and to pick the best one possible. So this one, how to migrate from Contentful to Strapi, a step-by-step guide. And then from there, we generate an outline and again, go through several steps here. And then we generate the base article. And then after generating the base article, we start going through post-processing, which makes it more like Strapi, adds links, adapts the voice, generates meta title, meta descriptions. And then we go through another process to start to interlink with other pages on the site. And then finally, we even do a fact checking as well. And then after all the fact checking, this is a final product. But not only did you have the human review steps in there, then from here, then we go through another hour or so of editing and reviewing, and then the Strapi team also reviews and makes it even better. And then we stage it into CMS and create the artwork and do a bunch of other things, right? Like, but the amount of effort that was already saved coming to this point has been pretty awesome, because we can really crank up on the volume while maintaining really high quality, you know. So with that, Owen, I'll pass it over, I think, to you or to Paul for some of the other workflows that you guys want to demo.
Oh, and you could go next, and I'll go after you with
Okay.
one last demo that I have, just so we make sure we have time.
Sounds good. Here we go. We'll save the best for last. So just like what Marcel was saying there, one recent addition we have within AirOps is our Google Search Console integration. So you can pull your full website, its metrics, and everything else that comes along with GSC. So I'm just going to go through the steps here. And I wanted to pull from AirOps and continue. So there's two main report types you can pull. You can do queries, which gives you like what users would typically put into Google, and then you can get results on pages. I'm interested in this case on maybe last 28 days worth of queries. And that's gonna pull down a couple of thousand pages, but what I did have, like a good chef, is one prepared earlier. And this is just kind of a almost taking like that strategy slide we went through earlier and like how to apply it. So you're starting off with like an inkling of an idea, and then you want to like update something on your website. So I filtered down the likes of that report we'll get from Google Search Console for our website to pages that are within like basically position 2 and position 10. So they're kind of near the top of the page, like lowest hanging fruit. And then I wanted to pull ones that were on our blog. So then kind of looking at these different metrics here, you can see like click-through rate on this one, for example, which is our actual blog. It's really, really low. I can probably update elements there. And then I think human in the loop is super important, because we have 2 fundraising posts, and we could easily go, if we didn't look at this and update both, then they kind of overwrite one another. But obviously in this case, we'd want to prioritize our most recent post. So I think that's just where a little bit of oversight can come in helpful. Just like the guys we're going through, I similarly have a metadata generator workflow, so I can run it here, but basically it's output for this blog, which is, does ChatGPT get the same answers to everyone? I have it output results in this format, and then you can easily add them to the column, and then I can like edit them as needed here. So maybe I don't like this last part, I could just like delete it, and same with the meta description. So what's really nice, and our website, unfortunately, Paul, runs on Webflow at the moment. We'll migrate one day. But if I did want to set up an automation here, so that as soon as I go through the title and description updates on everything, I can just go add column, export to Webflow. I can select our blog, which is here. And then I just need to like map elements. So I'm going to map like the Webflow ID of the page. I'd then start to map like title and description to elements. I won't do it here because I did this yesterday, but that's like a really easy way to sync to your CMS. And then similarly for that content, you can see here on average, it's falling in about position like 7.5 like Marcel's workflow. I have another one here that does on-page improvements. It goes off to the web, and actually I'll click into it pretty quickly. Edit in Studio. What it takes in is all the context of the URL, the keyword that you're trying to target for that page. It will go off and scrape almost the pages above it. So positions like 1 through 5. it will start to like decompose those pages, start to figure out why are those other companies kind of ranking ahead of you, and understand like if we were to click in here, what's the structure of their page, what are some of the themes they use, and then basically some of the tactics you can use to like integrate into your post. So jumping back, kind of what's the outcome of all that hard work we do? It gives you a ton of suggestions here. And we'll say I like the first one. The bottom one is around like adding extra FAQs, which is a way to get some extra keywords into your article. I can select that one, accept the output, and it will continue to run and use the information I have given it kind of midway through its workflow to finish it off. And then I finished one here earlier. So we'll output it in Markdown format, HTML, whatever your CMS or CMS elements require. But again, you can edit it directly here exactly as you want. And just like I showed there, you can sync it back to a Strapi, Contentful, Webflow, whatever CMS you use. So just easily going from almost the points we all spoke about of like strategy and metrics towards creation back to your website. And then again, you could layer on multiple optimization workflows on top of that too. So yeah, definitely helpful to me as a marketing team of one at the moment to automate a ton of jobs on the team.
And I'm learning in this webinar as well. So I'm already going to steal a bunch of these ideas as well. Thanks, Owen.
No worries. All right, I might hand it back over to you, Paul.
All right, awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I did see a question. Somebody asked, is the same mapping possible in Strapi? So what's cool about AirOps, they're working closely with us together and they are creating an integration. So I'm constantly adding like feature requests to make it better. So that would be the goal, to have it easily, but but you could also, I'll show you in the workflow how you're also able to specifically tell your endpoint, like what data you want to get. But let me share my screen quickly here. Desktop, share. I hope everybody could see my screen now. So here I am in Strapi. This is where I manage all my content. I have a couple of blog posts here. And what's really awesome, it's very cool and easily to maintain your data. And, you know, I could deliver it to my website. I actually have this idea here, post groups, where I'm able to set different content to different places based on the post group. But anyway, that's not the thing that I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is like, I have a YouTube channel. I hate writing blog posts. I really do. I love making videos. That's like what I'm good at. And so I have a video here that I created. It's about 21 minutes long. We don't have to watch it. We won't watch it, to be honest. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this URL, and I have a workflow in AirOps that will basically take my URL and it's going to get the transcript. It's going to use that transcript based that I got. And what's awesome, like when you create a workflow, you could actually point to another workflow. And that's what I'm doing here. I have a workflow here. I'll quickly show to you. It's I have a couple of different video to post. Nope, it's not this one. Let's go back. It's video to article improved. So here, this is what would get the transcript. So this is a whole, it looks complex, and you could make this as complex or simple as you want. But what I love about it, you could set up steps that allow you to write really good articles, and you could change any one of these steps depending on what you want. One of the coolest things I like, you could describe the process for writing articles in a very organized way. For instance, once it gets its transcript, go ahead, generate the outline for that article, and then it will iterate through that outline. And first it will fire the intro writer, but then we have the body of the article, and it will iterate through each item in the outline and write that section accordingly, which is really awesome. Then you get the output. Once I have my article, it will go ahead and compile it together. It will generate a good title and a description. And if you're not happy with any of the, like I wasn't really happy with the description, you could change the prompt you know, that you want, or hey, use this as context. But once everything is done, it returns the data that I want to pass to my Strapi backend. So if I go back to my Strapi integration workflow, basically the flow that I just showed you, I'm going to get my whole article returned to me. And then if you don't have like a very specific mapping, integration, whatever, you're still able to do everything with code. Granted, it's not no code solution, but like for instance, in the Strapi integration step, I'm passing the final JSON object that will map to my website's data structure that it expects. So what I'm able to do is I'm going to say test all. I already have the link. I'll click execute. So it went ahead, grabbed the transcript from this video, and then it's going to go ahead and go through the process. And you could see all the steps. For instance, we got the video and video ID. And this is something that I saved because I have another website where I want to show the original video that was summarized. And here you see that it got the full transcript. Now it's calling that article writer workflow. That's going to take a little bit, but it's getting my transcript and it's going to start going through the steps, writing the articles, including the outline. And so here we are, we're generating the outline. Once it has the outline, it's going to iterate through that outline and start generating the article. So right now it's working on writing the introduction with like a good headline, and it's going to go ahead and go through all the processes. So I'm going to let this finish, but ultimately, because I know Owen was saying like that, you could save this as a draft on your website, which you could perfectly do. For me, I just want my summary be automatically published on my website live. So I'm literally going from putting the video in, and once everything is done, it's going to not only be published in my Strapi instance, but also on my website. Since it's not done yet, it's not showing up yet, so we could give it a minute. But if anybody has any questions in the meantime or wants to add to the conversation, go ahead.
Yeah, we had one, I think you already answer on the mapping to Strapi. And then the other one is, be great if we can share some of these prompts on these flows from John. So absolutely. And Owen already mentioned some of these are already templates that are available out of the box for AirOps. And then John, if there's specific ones, only because some of these workflows are several steps, let us know, and we'll share some of them as well. We can share some of the templates as well.
Yeah, and that's like the cool part. Like if you log into AirOps, you will have some templates that are available. But like Marcel said, if you want anything more help, definitely reach out to him. So boom, everything is done here, and it went ahead. And so if I go to my website and refresh, Rethinking Personal Coding Projects. It's right there. It's published. It's ready to go. I don't have to write a blog post about my video. I don't have to think about it. It's done. It's on my website. I'm getting some of that SEO love, from organically publishing blog posts, which is pretty cool. And so for me, what I like about this, like I actually don't like to write. I do write articles sometimes, but I don't. I love making videos. And for me, this is like one great example. Use AI not to do the things that you love, but to automate the parts that you don't. And I think that is the power of figuring out where you want to get back your time, and the things that you love to do, continue doing them. And the things that you kind of like not really too keen on, like me, writing blog posts all the time, just use AI to help you. But that was my last demo I want to share.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, with that, we have a few minutes to address any questions. Let me go through the check here. Can you spell check and or replace prior to publishing, for instance, in the example of the copy spell checks?
Actually, yeah, I could answer that question actually. Yeah. So I did in this workflow, you will see this. I'm working on another workflow where I'm actually telling running the spell check or saying, hey, if you see any variants of Strapi, replace it with the correct spelling. So you could, yeah, easily add that in your flow.
Amazing. Oh, and anything else on your end?
No, I think someone asked about like prompting best practices. That's something we're working on internally, and hopefully we can share that out like early next week. Yeah. Just some of our own like internal thoughts about like structure and format and stuff that was in both of your workflows, and we're going to try and formalize that and get some content out around it next week. So we'll share that as well with registrants.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll send the recording here pretty shortly. So thanks everyone, and have a good one.
Thanks everyone. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks folks.